Hello there, Dustin Zarni, Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County, and welcome to Commissioner in a Car. Today is Tuesday. I'm coming to you on May 6th. There's a reason I waited till Tuesday. It wasn't just because I was lazy. And no, it wasn't because I was recovering from my beloved Celtics getting beat by the Knicks last night. Yes, congratulations, Knicks. Game one is yours. But the reason I'm coming a day late is there was a hearing today on the even year lawsuit at the 4th Appellate Division, and I wanted to touch on it, just kind of brief y'all about what's going on with that legislation. So I wanted to wait till after that to have this. But the main point of this Commissioner in the Car is that on Friday or Thursday of last week, we actually announced our early voting sites and election day sites for the primary in June, as well as the early voting sites for the general election. If you may remember that back in March, we announced our election day sites for the general election in November. Now you may say, why are you announcing the sites for November before you announce the sites for June? Well, the reason is because we really don't know where our primaries are until the end of April. So you may remember the last few Commissioner in the Cars I've been talking about the ballot access period, how people have been going through objections in court cases. Well, all of that determines where our primaries are. And we don't know that until about May 1st. And we actually have until May 12th this year to announce where our primary locations are for the June election, because election law takes into account that we may not know until all the court cases are done, until all the appeals are done. We got it done a little bit early. We wanted to announce our early voting for the primary and early voting for the general and the primary day locations all at the same time. Election law also requires us to announce our early voting for the general election on May 1st, but again, we have until May 12th to do the early voting for primary, but we did them all at once. And the reason is because, well, we knew them and we were ready to announce. But we wanted to get that out there as quick as possible. And we've already had settled all of our cases, all of our objections, all of our hearings, and none of the cases were able to go to appeal. So they weren't heard today in the 4th Appellate Division. So we were able to have a finality there to be able to do this announcement. So if you go to our website, onvote.net, under election information, under polling locations, we have the full list for that. And also under early voting, we have the full list for early voting. Now, I'm going to talk about the individual early voting sites, but I'm not going to necessarily talk about the primary locations because there's a lot of them. We have about 65 for Election Day. That's because we have a Democratic primary throughout the city of Syracuse. We also have a partial Democratic primary in parts of Salina and Geddes. So anywhere there's and then of course Republican primaries in Pompey, Cicero, and Elbridge, and a conservative primary in Elbridge. So on our website, under the candidate information, is all the full candidate list for all the races that are having primaries. Basically, in Pompey, it's town supervisor for the Republicans. In Cicero, it's town supervisor and town council for the Republicans. In Elbridge, it's town supervisor for both the Republicans and conservatives. And in OCL 8, we have a Democratic primary for County Ledge, which is in the city of Syracuse and in part of Geddes. And then, of course, we have primaries for mayor, common councilor at large, and school board on the Democratic side throughout the entire city of Syracuse. So that is our primaries race. You can go and find out the individual candidates. We are working on getting absentee ballots and vote by mail ballots ready for First wave going out on Friday, and then the second wave to the general public. That's going to go to our military and overseas voters and general public sometime early next week. So we're in the middle of all of that right now. So we are, so that's where the primaries are, or where the races are. And so we've opened up, when you have a major party primary, Republican or Democrat, we open up every polling place that is open for the general election. We will open up for the primary. So all of the places that don't have primaries, we're not opening up. But in Elbridge, the polling locations that normally would be there would be open. In Cicero, the polling locations that would normally be open would be open. In Salina 2nd Ward, the places that would normally be open will be open. In Geddes, for the part that is the OCLA, the places that would normally be open will be open. In Pompey, the places that would normally be open. And in the city of Syracuse, the places that would normally be open will be open for the primary. Now, early voting, we are required by law to have one site for every 30,000 voters with a maximum of 10 sites. We have about 312,000 voters in Onondaga County, so we're at that maximum of 10 sites. This is for the general election. And we, but because we don't have every area open in Onondaga County, and not every voter is eligible, there's only the voters inside the city of Syracuse and those other places that I named. I'm not going to go through it again. But only in those parties are eligible to come out. We actually don't have to open up as many. That being said, we are opening up more because of the dispersed geographic location of all of these primaries. You know, we got the center and then the two, corners of the county and all over the place. So we're opening up 5 early voting locations for the primary, which will also be opened up in the general. Those 5 are the Armand Magnarelli side at Armand Magnarelli McChesney Park in the north side of Syracuse, the Southwest, or the Syracuse Community Connections, the old Southwest Community Center in the southwest side of Syracuse, the Camillus Fire Station in the western portion of the county. That way the voters from Elbridge could go over and vote early there. The North Syracuse Community Center in the northwest part of northeast part of the county, which is in the town of Cicero, for the town of Cicero voters, and the Lafayette Community Center change. There is a change here. The Lafayette Community Center will be open for the southern tier, which is the residents of the town of Pompey that want to early vote. Now, you heard me say there's a change. Lafayette Community Center, we used to be at Lafayette Fire Station number 1. We've been there since 2019. Unfortunately, the fire marshal and the board there voted not to extend us for early voting. They did say that we could stay there for election day. All of the town of Lafayette vote at Lafayette Fire Station on election day, or have in the past. But we needed a early voting site in the southern tier. We didn't have any in the southern tier. And it wasn't just primary. The general, they didn't want us for early voting at all anymore. So while we begged and pleaded and asked, they said no. Well, we worked with the town of Lafayette, and they offered up the Lafayette Community Center. Big shout out to Dave Knapp, as well as the town of Lafayette clerk, and the supervisor who have worked to try to resolve this issue by giving us another site. So we're going to be at the Lafayette Community Center, which is right down the road from the Lafayette Fire Station. A little bit smaller room, but we think it'll work at least this year. With such short notice, we had to do this. So that'll be open up for the primary and general. So we're really, there is a change there. Now we have 5 more sites for early voting that will be opened up for the general election. Beecham Library in the city of Syracuse, Clay Town Hall, DeWitt Town Hall, and the Lysander Municipal Building, and OCC Mulway Hall. All 5 of those have been used in the past, especially since 2022 when we've expanded to 10 sites. So most of the sites are the same as you remember from last year and the year before, except for the Lafayette site will be moved to the Lafayette Community Center. We will have signage. We will have it'll be on our mail check cards that are going to go out next week. All of that information is going to be out there. So that was the big news from this week, the big election news, anyways, for the Board of Elections. We're, full steam ahead for the primary. We don't really have a lot of rest because not only are we getting ready for the primary, we're assisting about 18 or 19 school districts that are getting ready for their school vote. I'll do more about that in an upcoming Commissioner in a Car. But school district votes, we basically act as a vendor at the Board of Elections. We design the ballots and have them use our machines, but we don't run those elections. So ballot access, rules about absentees, all of that, all done at the school districts. They run it. We just give them the equipment and help give them a process for the ballots to be done. Another thing that we'll be talking about in a future episode is that Lysander just announced that they're having a town special election on June 9th to eliminate the highway superintendent as an elected position. They are choosing not to do vote by mail ballots. They are only doing election day. They passed a resolution. They're going to have 2 sites open on June 9th, and any voter in Lysander can go to either of those sites. So that's another election we're preparing for while we're also preparing for the primary. So May is a very busy month. April was a very busy month. May's going to be a very busy month. So, and then of course June will be a busy month with the big June primary. So we are really in it now at the Onondaga County Board of Elections, just like every Board of Elections across the state. Although I've heard of a few that don't have a primary, lucky you. But they do have school elections they're usually helping out with and that kind of stuff. So everybody's pretty busy. That being said, a few notes that I'd like to remind you of. If you want to vote in the June primary and you are not registered yet to vote, you have up until 10 days before the election, which is June 14th, to register to vote. If you want to receive and be guaranteed that an absentee or vote by mail ballot will be mailed to you, you have to apply by June 14th. You can do all of that at onvote.net. You can register. You can apply for a vote by mail or absentee ballot. You can check your registration, see what party you're in. If you're already registered to vote, it's too late to change your party. That had to be done back on February 14th. That was the deadline for the entire state for that. So do that. We've actually been canceling a lot of voters because we're getting mail check cards and other mailings from the Board of Elections back. This is what we normally do in this time of year. We're down, we had a high of 319,000 voters. We're down to about 312,000 voters in Onondaga County. Still, one of the highest ever. But because what happens is during a federal elections last year, we're not allowed to do this list cleanup until after the election because people could show up at the polls and decide to vote and update their address, and especially if they have a wrong address. So we are doing that list maintenance right now. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about is the even year legislation. Had a big hearing at the 4th Appellate Division today. And I want to be very cautious about this. I am not going to predict what the outcome is, but I'll give you the lay of the land. But also, we are not going to know with finality about whether this legislation is going to be enacted until probably later this year, and I'll explain why. First, a recap. The governor and the New York State Legislature passed a bill about a year and a half ago that would move many of our offices to even years. Town offices, county legislatures, county executives, county comptroller. A lot of different offices will be moved to to the even years. The legislature says they have the authority to do this. Many of the counties decided to take them to court after the governor signed it into law. And last October, Judge Neary in Onondaga ruled it unconstitutional. The Attorney General and myself, because I'm a defendant in that, because I'm a local commissioner and a supporter of the even year law, decided to appeal that ruling. Following the Attorney General's lead, we sought to have the Court of Appeals hear it and skip the appellate division. Right away, the Court of Appeals denied that and sent it back to the appellate division last December, maybe January. And so now the appellate division is hearing it. They heard it today. There was oral arguments today. And once the appellate division rules, then either side that wins or loses this is going to appeal it to the Court of Appeals again. So this is going to take a little while for us to get a decision on this. It wouldn't affect any offices till next year anyways. So if we get an answer by October, November, that's about the time that I expect this to be done with the Court of Appeals. Now, some technicalities here. Of course, the people who get ruled against could decide not to appeal it. I guarantee you it's going to get appealed. Also, the Court of Appeals, if the appellate division rules 4-1 instead of 3-2, then the Court of Appeals could decide not to hear it, but I kind of feel like they will. This is a constitutional issue, and but we don't know what the judges are going to rule on this. The questioning, I listened to most of it. I got sidetracked with some work that I had to do in the office. As I told you, we're very, very busy. But the main question, and I've read the briefs, and I'm not a lawyer, so I want to make that caveat very clear. This is an argument around whether the New York State Constitution protects counties' ability to set the terms of office for their local legislatures, or whether the state legislature has the authority to modify local offices. And I do not know that there's a crystal clear answer that came out of today's hearing. So we'll see how this goes. My guess is that we're going to, again, go to the Court of Appeals, no matter how today's hearing go. I was impressed with the arguments. Everybody made good arguments, but I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a judge. And it really rests on whether the New York State Constitution protects the counties with charters and other towns and villages and all of that from action by the New York State Legislature because of the home rule municipal law that was passed. It's very technical. I'm not going to get into it because I'm going to mess it up. But in essence, is the law constitution under New York? Does the New York State Legislature have this authority, or does it not? I think that's what it really comes down to. Some of the other arguments are minor. There was an argument about that because we're so far into the calendar that even if it is, put back into place, that maybe it won't go into effect next year, or maybe it'll go into effect the year after, or delay it a little bit. So we're going to see. But as soon as I get a decision, as soon as we hear a decision, we will obviously, I'll try to let you know about it. But if we don't hear a decision, we'll hear a decision. But even when we do hear a decision, whether it's good or bad, on your point of view, whether it's overturning Judge Neary or in ruling the law constitutional, or keeping it as unconstitutional, or some kind of middle ground there, either way, it's going to be appealed to the Court of Appeals. So there is no finality here for several months. But we have finally moved forward with some arguments on this case. So that's about it. For now, I keep promising I'm going to get back to the weekly wonks, and I got to tell you, I don't know if I'm going to. It's very busy. I'm very busy at work, very busy getting ready for this primary, and I think I'm just going to stick with the commissioner in the car once a week to keep you up informed with all of this stuff. But I don't think I'm going to get back to the weekly wonk. Definitely not doing the Zoom and Zarnies for a long time. But we got a lot of stuff going on and a lot of new people at the board, all working very hard. So I'm going to stick with that for now. So next week, next Monday, I hope, if I keep on my schedule, although I may not, because, I should mention this. Syracuse lost a brave man this last week. Van Robinson, who is a friend and a longtime advocate for the city of Syracuse. He passed, and his funeral is on Monday. And I've known Van since I was a young man who came into the party 30 years ago. And he was a common council president, president of the NAACP. And I got to tell you, just a man who epitomed the vision of the leader that serves their community to benefit the community, even though they may never see those benefits. And so his funeral's on Monday, so I don't know if I'll get to the commissioner in car then. I might do it Tuesday of next week. But I got to tell you, one of the things that he never gave up on is the replacement of I-81. He felt it decimated the 15th ward of the city of Syracuse, and that whatever inconvenience it would cost some of the commuter traffic, that it was worth tearing that structure down to revitalize the central core of the city he grew up in and loved. And I agree. I've always agreed. But I'm so sad that he won't be around to see that project finished. But I know that he'll be watching. And I know that he lived long enough to see that his dream would start to become reality. So, goodbye, Van. We're going to miss you. We're going to miss you. We also had another person die. This turned a little sad. Had another person die just yesterday or the day before. We found out about it yesterday. A longtime Town of DeWitt town council member, Jack Dooley, passed away as well. It's just a reminder that we have these public servants in our lives, and they're not always in our lives for all. And politicians get a bad rap. It's easy to just say, oh, politicians are in it for money or corruption or fame. I'll tell you, nobody's serving on a town board for that kind of stuff. Nobody's done what they did for the community that Van did for those type of accolades. These are people who have served our community, and they deserve our love and respect, and especially their families, their respect and love as they pass. So if you pray, or if you do something else, or even if you have a time for a moment of silence for these two great men, I'd appreciate that. So next Tuesday, I'll be doing Commissioner in the Car. At that point, we'll probably be doing a school election preview. So I'll be talking about school district elections next Tuesday, and as well as if we have a ruling from the appellate division, which we may not, on the even year, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day. Bye-bye.